Hello, everybody, and welcome again back to Table Takes here. And hey, did you guys know this is the last day of May? Summer is just around the corner, so I hope y'all are ready for the heat that is coming, because El Nino, it be coming. So, uh, we actually have a very special episode today. Not only do we have one interview worthy, but two interview worries today. So we're going to be doing a little bit different today because we have Jonathan Tweed come out from for talk about 13 Age and Denise Robertson for Blackmore. Both of them are going to be talking more at the end of the show. But before we get into the nitty gritty, let's talk about how everybody's sitting here looking so pretty. Hello, everybody. How was your week? Starting with, of course, Noir. How
Oh,
was
me?
Yes.
I'm doing just fine. Things are chill at work. Hanging out with you guys today. I'm doing a fundraiser all tomorrow for a couple of my friends called the Stream Punks. So that'll be fun.
Ooh, okay. And you did not give us any links or anything. Shame. How are we supposed to know where we're supposed to throw our charity money at if you don't give us all the details? Can you please drop that down?
I did not come here to get harassed.
Take the money. Take the money, Noir.
Are you making it rain at me? I wasn't prepared for this. but uh but
Yeah.
that's just me. Go ahead.
But yeah. All right. That is cool to hear about the charity stream coming up. Also, Peter, how have you been?
I'm great. Thank you for asking, Bonsai. You know what I'm going to say. You already know what I'm going to say. I'm working on these celebration of Dungeons and Dragons streams that are happening every Saturday. We are halfway through now. We've done original D&D, AD&D, second edition AD&D. Tomorrow we're streaming third edition Dungeons and Dragons, and I've got Jonathan Tweet, who's going to be here on a totally different manner here in a few minutes to interview. But he will be DMing. Also, Monty Cook and Sean Reynolds will be there with me, along with Lexi the First, and we're going to talk about D&D, and then we're going to play D&D, and Stefan Picorni is going to be monitoring chat for us. Also, I'm not done. I also am very excited because today, and the newest episode of Ken and Robin Talk About Stuff, which is my favorite podcast, Gen Con TV is an official sponsor now of this podcast, and they recorded a segment. I might find that segment and play it for you next week on Table Takes. Maybe I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Ooh, we'll have
the
to.
theme is, the focus is for Gen Con. It focuses on Table Takes, so that's us. So that's why.
Wow.
Hey, that's
Wow.
cool.
That's so
Now
cool.
we're playing on commercials. We hit it big, Mom. We hit it big. But that's exciting. Can't wait until next week. Javion, what have you been up to lately?
Not much. I haven't had a lot on my mind except, oh yeah, I'm going to see my favorite movie of all time's sequel next week, or not next week, but the week after. When it comes out, when it's finally available. If you haven't heard of Inside Out, I don't know what rock you've been living under, but it's a genius movie made by geniuses for people who have emotions. Oh wait, that's everybody. I love Pixar. I've always loved Pixar. I love Amy Poehler. She is a goddess, and she is also the voice actress for Joy, which is the best emotion, everybody agrees, in the whole movie. And I can't wait. I cannot wait until this movie comes out. So I just had to share that joy with you guys a little.
Aw, I now we know you both inside and out, Javion. So good.
That was great.
Yeah,
What about you,
and
Bonsai? What you been up to?
not much. I went around visiting several various different friendly local gaming stores. And I supported them. One of them I was able to get Flamecraft, which is kind of I'm very excited to play. Cutesy dragons and dragon shops, and you try to collect resources. So I'm very excited to break into that game. Hopefully within the next few days, if I have time, because baby. But you know what? Speaking of babies and all that things, there's a little thing I don't know if you guys know, but I actually used to be a teacher before I did all this streaming stuff. So I'm gonna go
What?
ahead and put my teacher class. cat on and say hello, class, and welcome. We're doing a new segment today, and I hope you guys brought all of your special things to show off because we're doing a little thing called show and tell. I've asked everybody here to bring something that is important to them, that is related to gaming, not necessarily like, oh, this is the first ever first edition something something or another. It's something that is just important to them and wanted to show off why it's important and what's its significance to them is. Just to show as an example to the class, hello students. I hope you guys brought everything. Can you say hello, Miss Bonsai? How
Hello,
are you
Miss
doing?
Bonsai.
I refuse to participate in this.
How did I
Oh,
know?
someone
How
has
did I
a frowny
absolutely know?
face.
Hey, wait, Noir, you said that was your favorite thing with show and tell.
Oh yeah, no, I love show and tell. I'm not saying hi to the teacher though.
Well, it's okay because all I need to have is your listening ears because I'm going to show you an example of how we're going to be doing this today. So, for me, my thing I wanted to show and tell really quick is my breakaway game from D&D. Like a lot of folks here who started their role-playing game or like role-playing adventure, I started it with 3rd edition and then like for years we just played D&D. Our first breakaway game was, in fact, Savage Worlds. I have one of the older books. Isn't my original one, because the one that I did break out with was Deadlands Reloaded, which is like a wild, weird west kind of version of Savage Worlds. We started playing, me and my group started playing this game because we were really into Supernatural. At the time, Supernatural was like a really quality show that had a lot of adventure. And we kind of was like, oh, what if we apply that to a Weird West kind of thing? And they're like, oh, have you tried this? This is like our, like, they're like, the books aren't expensive and they're smaller. And I think it's like a nice, easy way to kind of step out of D&D into a new genre. And so we're like, okay, what the heck? And so I will say for this, I love Savage Worlds. It was like for what it was at the time about upgrading dice mechanics, having things that were like bonuses and hindrances depending on how you made your character. I will say the binding on these first editions, terrible. Terrible. I don't want to open this book because I literally have pages falling out at this moment because it was like they like hope and a wish, which is okay because they upgraded their book binding game. This is 100% better for the company that made Savage Worlds. That was my only comment about this. But yeah, it was like a $10, like you could even see on the back of the price. It was only $9.99, and for somebody who is like high school, I did make money, but most of my money went into anime and manga. So this one wasn't that bad in terms of prices. It's like as much as a manga was at the time. And so yeah, it was something that was really cool to me and I enjoyed it. And I played
really cool.
a lady of the night with a heart of gold named Tallulah Roosevelt as my first character.
That's awesome.
So who would like to go next?
Peter.
I will go next. But you said doesn't have to be 1st edition, but what if it is?
Oh, well, oh, wow. Already dropping down the gauntlet. Okay,
actually it's not. Actually, it's not quite 1st edition. Okay, so my introduction to D&D, you did your exit from D&D. My, of course, sentimental about my introduction to D&D. I was a war gamer. I played board war games like Avalon Hill and SPI games. That's what I played back in throughout the 70s. And in 1978, I got hooked on fantasy. My brother loaned me The Hobbit, and like, oh my God, this is great. But I had no idea about D&D. I had never heard of it. No idea about role-playing games, none of that sort of thing. I was in a game store, and I had $20 in my hand, and Atlantic Wall, which is a World War II, a huge, what they called a monster game at the time. It just meant it was really big. And I went up to the counter, and on the counter was Dungeons and Dragons, the blue box set.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
on impulse, I saw that dragon and had to have it. So I did. I have it. I bought it. Now, unfortunately, this is not the exact one I got in 1978. That one's long lost, long gone. But I always talk about this product being the first one. So eventually I went out on the secondary market and I bought my own copy. And and then I had these were the rules, everything you needed to play, and I had Dave Arneson autograph it for me at one time. So that was kind of cool. That's really cool. So that
Ooh,
actually makes
fancy.
it better than the one I had first. And also, I mean, you've probably heard in lore about how we didn't have the polyhedral dice back in the day, or we couldn't get the problem sourcing them. And so you had chits numbered. Well, and this on this side, these say 1-20. And then on the other side, it's the numbers 1 through 20. So you had chits for each type of die and several and at least 2 sets of most of them. But you could tell which chits were the ones to draw from based on what it said on the back, and then you randomize them, flip one over to roll a die. So that was this version has them not punched out. And if I had my original one still, I wouldn't have this sheet because it would have all been cut up by then. So it had a dungeon in it called In Search of the Unknown. And the dungeon was written by Mike Carr, by the way, the only person around alive who's been to every Gen Con. My first foray into doing my own thing was I took that dungeon and expanded it from 3 levels to 9 levels.
Whoa.
Yeah, baby.
Heck yeah.
There you go. That's it. That's what I
Something
got.
about the number 9 in association with dungeons just feels terrifying.
Well, yeah, you had 9th level spells, you had 9 circles of hell. It's just a nice number to land on in terms of how many levels are in the
Yeah, I agree.
in a dungeon.
Heck yeah.
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 All right, can I go next?
Oh, okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So I wanted to show you guys this. I probably have shown it to you already, but it's always been my dream to be in a board game. Or if I can't like make my own, I wanted to do one of those Kickstarters where you pay enough money and then they put you in the game. So I did that with Escape the Dark Castle. So this is a picture of me that they took and they put into the game. This is the real size of the card that's supposed to be. I sleeved it up and I've been keeping it nice and safe. These are the stats for the different like abilities. This is how many dice you get to roll on each different like thing that you're doing. So like 5 dice in a might check because I'm very strong. But I have very low perception, I guess, because there's already a smith character, like a blacksmith character, and they were like, "Which one did you want to be?" I'm like, "What do you think? My last name." So yeah, that was really cool. I'm very, very attached to this card. I don't think I'm going to play it. I think I'm just going to keep it in the sleeve forever.
That's awesome.
Oh, thanks. And then the other thing that I wanted to show you guys was not an introduction to like D&D, but my introduction into TCGs or trading card games. Or this was more like a collector's game, actually. So this is it's a little beat up, but it's Adventure Time Card Wars. This is the first pack that I ever bought. It's Finn and Jake from the show Adventure Time. This originally was just a card game spoof in one episode of Adventure Time for a card game you could probably guess which one they were making fun of. And I got a bunch of the other stuff with it too, like this giant doubles tournament box that came with like a ton of cards and lets you hold all the cards in it and stuff like that. That was really cool. When they brought back the card game for a special episode called Doubles Tournament. And then there's this app, and they got sued for it by Wizards of the Coast for reasons I won't go into, but suffice it to say, they were a little upset about how close their game was to it. I wanted to show you my 2 favorite cards in the whole game. So first, we've got the Wandering Bald Man. His ability was really cool. At the start of every turn, you discard the top card of your deck, which doesn't seem like much. He has no strength, and he's just a bald man with underwear on, but he's got 10 health. He's supposed to sit out there for a long time, discard a bunch of cards, because you get a bunch of extra cool stuff, depending on how big your discard pile is. And sometimes when cards I discarded, they do stuff, so that's cool. But then here's my favorite card of all time. So this one is called Phyllis. She's a rainbow creature, so you could play her in any deck. And she's 2 strength with 7 health, which doesn't really defense, excuse me, toughness. But also the little blurb on the bottom is my favorite part. While the blade distracts you, her purse swings in for the whammy. It's just funny. I just thought both of these cards are super funny, and I love this card game. I missed out on the big Kickstarter that happened earlier this year, where they brought the card game back, and you could just pay $1,000 and get everything they've ever made, plus a big box to hold all the cards in and stuff. But hopefully, I'm going to message them and email them and pester them until they can get me in on it before they ship everything out. So fingers crossed, pray for me.
Good luck. And now, last but not least, Noir, what did you bring for the class?
All right, I'm gonna make this fast. This is just these are the 2 books that I got my first writing credits on: Galder's Gazetter and The Vault of Magic from this is from Cyperion Games. This is from Cobalt Press. 5th edition was my return to D&D. I was introed in with 3.5, so I thought I'd try and add a little bit of 3.5 into my 5th edition by adding items that make you roleplay stuff. There's an elixir of untold truth, which will give you back abilities that you've spent already, but your character can't tell a lie until their next long rest. I just thought that was something fun to do. But those are my items. I'm just very proud to have contributed to the hobby that I love so much.
Oh, thank you, everybody. That was actually really,
Nice.
I know, very nice and honestly awesome for writing credits, showing off cards, and OG. Even though I said you don't need to show off a 1st edition, thank you for showing off 1st edition. I hopefully we can do this again. Honestly, I do hope we get to do this again. And maybe next time when we do it, we can have it so we can actually go into details in the nitty gritty. This is like a commercial for probably going on and doing like individual show and tells. But what is exciting is right after this, like I said, we are going to have 2 interviews coming up. And today, right now, we're going to be introducing our interviewer is Jonathan Tweed. We're going to go ahead and connect them in a few seconds. They're going to be coming in and talking about 13th Age 2nd edition.
Hey, welcome, Jonathan Tweed. Hi,
Hey
how are
there.
you doing?
Hello.
Yeah,
Hello,
great.
hello.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Welcome in.
Hey, everybody.
Good. Well, welcome to TableTakes. You know me. I don't know if you met Bonsai Baby and Javion Smith and the Noir Enigma, but we are the hosts of TableTakes, and we are excited to have you here today.
Yeah, thanks. Nice meeting you all. I was just watching you on Gen Con TV just a couple minutes ago. So
Woohoo! All right.
Yeah.
Well, you have very discerning taste. Yeah. And I don't know if you saw my plug. We're excited today because we're sponsoring Ken and Robin now.
Oh, super.
Yeah. So anyway, you are here. You've got a new crowdfunder up.
Yeah, that's right.
What you got going? What's it about?
Yeah.
What is it?
So my buddy Rob Hainslow and I are redoing our role-playing game, 13th Age, which came out in 2013. So this is the 2nd edition, and it already blew through its goal, like, in the first day, and now it's now we're trying to figure out what else we can add to make the players really excited. But this is our role-playing game that's we're taking Dungeons and Dragons out for a joyride and seeing what the game system can really do if it's not being controlled by the corporate headquarters. So so we're having a great time with it. He was the lead designer on 4th, I was the lead on 3rd, and this is our opportunity to sort of play the game our way and show people what the game would have been like if we'd been doing it for ourselves instead of, for the shareholders.
For
For
who?
you, maybe.
Who?
Yeah.
Who are you talking about? Corporate.
I mean,
Jonathan,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry about that. I had a question for you.
Yeah.
As somebody who's not super familiar with 13H, what are some of the unique features of it that sort of set it apart from other RPGs?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's a lot like uh the Dungeons and Dragons game it's based on, right? There's dwarves and elves and rogues and barbarians and whatever. But the combat is sort of re-envisioned to be really fast and give you meaningful tactical decisions for what to do with your powers and then the story half of it has been just kind of unleashed so that you can create things about your character that aren't true about any other character that anyone else is playing. So you might be playing a dwarven fighter like you've done a bunch of times, but this dwarven fighter is unique because they have a clockwork heart that was given to them by the archmage or whatever it is that you make up. And so role-playing games let you make stuff up, and we said, well, let's lean into that and make a version, a fantasy role-playing game where you make up more stuff.
I have to say, one of the things that I absolutely loved about 13th Age is that you
Yeah,
guys you cut out a lot of the fluff. One of my main problems with 5th edition is like levels 1 through 2, I'm doing absolutely nothing.
yeah, that's
Like
right.
like I feel like a paladin
Yeah, that's right.
immediately
That's
when I
right.
play 13th Age. Yeah, you guys level capped it at 10th level.
Yeah,
I was wondering in the next iteration of 13th Age, are you going to keep to that concept, or are you going to like? I just kind of want to
that's
know what other ways you're going to go with that, because
that's
that was
that's
one
a
of my favorites.
yeah, that's a great point. You do start out feeling like a mid-level character right away.
Yeah.
Um, right, because yeah, right. We've all fought enough dire rats and whatever in our time that we don't need to be first level like that again. Um,
Democracy.
yeah, in the original Dungeons and Dragons, you didn't start as a wizard. You were just a magic user, and you had to earn the title of wizard, right? It was all about starting small, and so yeah, you just start with a bang. What we like about keeping it down to 10 levels is that then every level really matters. Like it's
Yeah.
almost like you're going up 2 levels. And so if you're going to do the work of like adjusting your character because you're another level, you should really get a benefit out of it. And so we just cram a whole lot of fun into those 10 levels. Now this time we're going to go up to 11. So
Oh.
so
Too
one of the
late.
things you can gain while you are progressing a level is you can get incremental advances, which are like getting a little bit of the level in advance, so that you get a little bit better at your defenses or you get a little bit better at your spells, even though you haven't reached the new level yet. So when you're 10th level and you earn one of those incremental advances, obviously you level one of your characteristics up to 11. So maybe you're casting an 11th level spell, right? Or maybe you're using an 11th level feat or something. And so yeah, we wanted to keep it compact. So it's still 10 levels, but we wanted to loosen up a little bit. So it goes to 11.
No.
Great.
I love it.
You tell me anything else you love about 13th Age, and I'm here.
Ghost combats. I like that if you're down, you don't have to just sit around and wait for folks. You can actually do stuff still as a ghost.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Even if you're dead, you can fight in spirit and still have an effect on the battle. Yeah.
How does that work? I'm curious.
Yeah. So it's just a stopgap rule that it's ever like if you are ever just not in the battle, you can fight on in spirit, and you can imagine like some anime where the fighter remembers the wizard telling them some wisdom and that helps them finally stab the dragon in the eye. And so it's like aiding other metaphysically or whatever. So you then
Cool.
create that, right? Like you come up with that little clip of why you help them. You remember when I said da 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 da, and now you get a bonus on your attack. So you never do nothing.
Yeah, our GM actually made us do like a flashback scene.
Well, I mean, that's right. If you want to gain these benefits, you've got to pay for them in narrative. You have to entertain the table by developing some story in order to get your +2. So that's fair.
Oh, on the page of narrative, as you're going in and you're saying that you're still keeping and trying to design a little bit more of second edition, is there any thought in leaning more into the narrative style gameplay aspect?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So one of the things that's different now with the new edition is that we have over 10 years of experience with our own system. So when when we did the combat system for 13th Age, we had already hacked the combat system for third edition and fourth edition, and we knew it backwards and forwards. But the new stuff, like the icon connections, in particular, those were new to both of us. And so we had a good direction, but we hadn't had it figured out yet. And now we've got it figured out. So there are some big changes in the icon connection system, but the biggest one is just lots more examples of how to use these in a narrative. And an icon connection is when you as a character use your narrative connection to one of the great icons of the setting. Like it could be the Dragon Emperor or the Archmage or the Diabolist, one of these super NPCs, just like a character in you know, uh, any kind of fantasy story. Um, that narrative connection that they have to the big NPCs, to Sauron or to Gandalf or whatever, those come up during play and affect how the story turns out. And so as a player, you can nudge the story one direction or another using your connections to those icons. And we knew we were onto something, 12 years ago, and now it's like, oh, we got to figure it out. It's really exciting to recover that territory.
Is there anything in particular that you've been getting feedback on from the fans who are excited about this that they're looking forward to?
Yeah, so they really like the new icon connection stuff because that was um, like every group kind of figured out a different way for how they made it work for themselves, and so they really like seeing sort of more from us. Um, and the other thing is the almost no matter what kind of character you're a fan of, there's something new and cool for that character type in the new edition. So Rob is really, committed to giving the players more cool stuff. So all the classes have more features, the can have more features, and so yeah, there's a lot of individual things that people are really liking, and a lot of the stuff it was pretty balanced before, and now we're taking the stuff that was kind of in the bottom half, and it wasn't that people didn't like it as much, and we're um, boosting that to having to be more on par with the rest of the material, right? So you got more good spells to cast, more good talents to choose from.
Is
I-
there uh is there a setting that comes with this, or is it
That's a great question, Peter. Um, well, yes and no. So, there's a map and there's a chapter about what all the places on the map are. Um, but the setting is designed to kind of look like what you imagine a D&D campaign would be like, right? There's a big emperor, and there's an emperor who's in charge of everything, and there's a evil diabolist that's trying to ruin everything, and there's a lich king that's trying to take over, and there's sort of like the gold dragon is like the icon of paladins, and you have the high druid and all these sort of elf queen, dwarf king, prince of shadows, all these figures that are sort of well, literally they're iconic. We call them icons. Um, but they're sort of archetypal, and you might expect a regular D&D campaign to have characters like that, and where you would fight dragons, and there's ancient ruins, um, and so while we are providing a setting, it's hardly one that you have to learn because it's kind of what you expect, and now you have the freedom to riff off of that. So there's no history with like years in it or anything like that because we don't want to constrain you from coming up with what you want to do. So we paint everything in a broad brush, and there's lots of stuff that's um it's sort of half designed, like you get a pizza from the pizza place and they par baked it, and it's like it's almost ready, but you have to make it yourself when you get home. It's just kind of that. It's
Yeah.
um and so when you create your character, you already understand the setting well enough because it's kind of what you would expect. And if there's something that you would expect to be in a campaign like that and it isn't, you could probably just invent it, right? Like, okay, my character was raised at a monastery of, uh, you know, sort of very strict by the book, bald-headed people, and they've got these weird monasteries everywhere. And it's like, all right, if that's if that fits your character and gives you whatever, and if that you could see that in a D&D campaign, so sure, there's room for it. The Empire's big enough that you can sort of drop whatever you want to in it. They call it 13th age because there have been 12 previous ages. So anything you want to have happened in history, it's happened sometime back then. And so you can, like, we had one guy, his character was the reincarnation of this being from 7 ages ago, or well, sure, right? There's no you don't have to painfully slot that in somewhere and explain it because it's just this big wide open setting.
Uh, I have to say, look, one of the things that's one of the conversations in the TTRPG scene right now is casters versus melee. And I think 13th Age does a very good job of balancing the two out. I have
That's
to
right.
say, this is the only system that I have gotten hyped for getting a natural 16. Like, usually,
Yeah,
usually you only get excited for the natural 20s.
that's
I
right.
was just wondering, is there gonna be more like more, it feels like there's a lot of attention paid to melee. Is there gonna be more of that as somebody who made a paladin? Like, I gotta ask for us.
Well, thanks for saying that we get the balance right. We've been continuing to work on that. Um,
Yeah, even
and-
when you miss, awesome stuff happens sometimes. It's great.
yeah, thanks. So the uh the spell classes are getting lots of their individual spells kind of upgunned, right?
Mhm.
But not a really big difference. But the melee classes are getting a lot of new stuff. All right, so the barbarian is really different. The fighter is really different. We found out that the fighter was nice and balanced at low and mid levels, but at high levels, the casters were leaving the fighter behind, kind of like has always been true in D&D. So we had to go in and fiddle with some things to make that work even better, all the way from adventurer tier all the way up to epic tier. But the fighters are getting the melee people are getting more new stuff than the spellcasters. So yeah.
We out here. We did it.
Yeah, Rob's really proud of how the like when he did fourth edition, all the classes had interesting options to do in combat, and so that was nice. But they all operated kind of the same, and he's really happy with how when he did the classes in 13th Age, they all have something interesting to do in battle, but they're all different from each other.
Yeah.
Now, one
Yeah.
last thing I wanted to ask
Sure.
before I toss it back to Peter. I couldn't help but notice that at Gen Con this year, there are a bunch of 13th Age sessions available for
Yeah.
that are all sold out. And also the 13th Age second edition, there's actually going to be like a little panel actually with some of the writers.
Yeah.
Well, will you be there as well, or is it just going to be it looks like Rob Heinze?
Yeah, it looks like he's going to be representing the design team there. That's right.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
so that should be a good one.
Excellent. Well, tickets are still available for that. So if any of our audience members are going to be at Gen Con, you want to learn more about second edition, you can
Yeah,
definitely
highly
check it out there.
recommended. You could also
Uh,
just drop by the Pelgrane booth. And you can also, yeah. So, by then the Kickstarter will be closed, but the playtest I'm sure will still be ongoing. I'm sorry,
So-
what was that? Yeah.
Yeah, so the Kickstarter it's on Kickstarter, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, of the various crowdfunding platforms, and it's called 13th Age Second Edition. It's a
Yep.
excited with the project. And how much have you raised? I haven't looked at it in a few days. It was like $500,000 or something like that.
Yeah, 300,000. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
that's pretty nice. That was pretty nice. We
Nicely
have a
done.
huge playtest group, so that demonstrates that like the game has collected fans as it has aged. That's really nice. Sometimes a game makes a splash and then peters out, and it looks like with 13th Age, we've grown a considerable fan
And
base. It's really nice to
and
see.
and it's by
Yeah.
Pelgrane Press. Pelgrane
Yep.
apparently is happy with it. Since
Yeah, they do all sorts of sort of artsy games by like Ken Hite and Robin Laws, for example.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And are there a bunch of supplements for the game for 13th Age, or
that's another great question. So
I'm just lucky? I did just yeah,
you've done this before,
got
Peter.
lucky.
So
Usually
there,
it's Javion with the best questions, but
so we've got 10 years of supplements, adventures and source books on the setting and all this stuff is not exactly canon. It's all just like here's more ideas you could use in your campaign, but really it's up to you. There's no official world or timeline or anything like that. And one of the books in particular about Drakenhall, the city of monsters, it has a number of contradictory takes on that part of the setting. So you can't use the whole thing verbatim. It's all grist for your mill. Anyway, second edition is compatible with all of that. So if you pick up second edition, you can also pick up monster books and class books and setting books. And some of it you have to look at a little in a different direction to see how it ports in, but it's straightforward. And in fact, Rob was not willing to do the game, do a second edition unless it was compatible, because
okay.
he cares more about the players than about headquarters.
Yeah, yeah. Those rogue designers.
That's right, making their own decisions.
Hey, Jonathan, we're running out of time, but hey, one thing I should have asked you at the beginning, but I'm going to ask them, but we're going to make it a nice closing thing. You've done a lot of stuff. Why don't you brag for a second, let people know what else you've worked on
Yeah,
over
that's
your
great.
illustrious career.
Yeah, so third edition D&D was the big project where lots of people heard of me. I was the lead designer on that back in 2000, but I had already done a role-playing game Ars Magica about wizards in the Middle Ages back in 1987 with Mark Reinhagen, and then Over the Edge in 92. That was sort of weird modern um, freeform story-oriented play, and that influenced a lot of the sort of the next wave of game designers, role-playing game designers. And so I'm really proud of that one. Everway is sort of a game I did for you, Peter, at Wizards of the Coast that was traveling from sort of sphere to sphere in the multiverse with some heroic character tied to the gods or the elements or whatever. And it's all using a tarot deck sort of instead of dice. So it's very kind of touchy-feely, almost the opposite of third edition. And then 13th Age, and I've done other stuff. I did Grandmother Fish. It's the first book to teach evolution to preschoolers. So that was a passion project. Another thing I did that was not for the man. And so that's turned out great. It's in Italian and Japanese and Chinese. So yeah, I love it. Uh, some other weird games here and there, Dreamscape and like Hecatome, whatever.
Well, that's a good list.
Yeah, it's a pretty good list.
Well, congratulations on
Thank
13th
you.
second edition as a crowdfunding campaign and
Yep.
as an excellent game. It's an excellent thing. Appreciate your work. And thank you for coming by.
Yeah, nice meeting y'all. Thanks for the lovely words, and yeah, take care.
All right.
Oh, I think Denise is on her way in here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Well, it was a lot of fun having Jonathan on the show.
Yes, and links for the Kickstarter has been posted in chat if you are interested.
And you can see Jonathan on Gen Con TV again tomorrow as he DMs 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons.
So excited for that.
Oh,
Hey,
hello.
welcome,
Hello.
Denise. Hello. It's so nice
That's
to
a
have
fun
you on
number.
Gen Con TV, Denise. I saw you listening, but here you are. Your audio good?
Oh,
Oh,
have a little bit of difficulties as we're working out, but it's good to have you here. No worries.
want to get
But
this sorted out.
hopefully, I mean, it's gonna be cool. For the most part, werewolves. That's what we're talking about. Wolves.
Wolves. Okay, gotcha.
Wolves. Just to kind of give a sneak peek, of course, Denise is gonna probably tell us more about it once they are able to connect into voice chat. It's okay. This is what happens when
Had
you
me
do
at
live
wolves.
interviews.
Does this work?
Hey,
Yeah.
there you go. We hear your
All
beautiful
right.
voice. Hello.
Once
Sorry
again,
about that.
welcome
Hi.
No
to
worries.
JCOD TV. Welcome to our Interworthy segment, Denise Robinson. Well, why don't you, and by the way, we know each other. I'm not sure who all you know from here from Gen Con TV, but with Bonsai Baby, Javion Smith, and Noir Enigma, dear friends and lovely co-hosts. So Denise, what brings you to Gen Con TV today?
Well, I'm here to talk about this fun new event that we've got going on at Gen Con for Dave Arneson's Blackmoor, Age of the Wolf.
Ooh.
It's a new Blackmoor setting. So it's what happened 270 years after the last time we tuned in. And it sort of answers the question, if the king is the land, what happens after the king dies? So it's a little dark in places, but yeah, it's science and technology and magic, clockwork versus spell work, and it's very exciting. And we're going to be running a lot of events.
So to set a little bit of context for
Mm.
in case there's anybody that might be watching who might not know what we're talking about, Dave Arneson, one of the 2 creators of Dungeons and Dragons, Blackmoor was his campaign setting, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, the first campaign.
The first campaign.
Yeah.
And so this particular project is set in this campaign, but now does it assume that you're playing Dungeons and Dragons? Is it a Dungeons and Dragons?
Actually, it's not a gaming book. It's more of a travel guide and encyclopedia that you can use all your information in whatever game system you're using. So it's whether it's Pathfinder, Dungeons and Dragons, OSR, BRP, whatever, you can take this information and use it to build the world, to expand the worlds that we grew up on and loved.
So you can play original D&D if you wanted to.
Totally. I heartily encourage it, actually. I was looking for DMs, but everybody wanted to go for, oh yeah, see, that's the stuff.
Excellent. Well, co-hosts, got some questions for Denise here.
I'm sure Bonsai does.
I have, well, yeah, I got a couple. Well, one, you already answered some of my questions because I was like, what is this for OSRD? You're like, it works with everything. I guess my other question would be, can we expect to see any noteworthy Blackmoor characters from the old campaign reinsert itself in here?
Oh, well, it's more of a question of how did they die? Because it is 270 years in the future. So the Egg of Coot defeated at a terrible price. And King Uther Andahar, who ruled from the Castle Blackmoor, is long gone. So right now we've got all the baronies, mostly humans, but there's some stuff happening with the dwarves and the Dalcry and the elves. But all the baronies are fighting for power now, and so it gets a little bit political. There's been wars going on. It's a bit of a Cold War right now.
So I'd love to know from whose perspective is the story being told, or is it just an overall perspective? Like, do we have like an untrustworthy narrator deal happening here? Or I would love to know because this sounds amazing for use in a campaign.
Yeah, well, there's a piece of fiction. So and that is actually it's a third person narrator as well. So it's all third person. So we can trust the narrator on this one, I should hope. Yeah.
Awesome. Now,
Well, so go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, and have you seen anybody using the setting in a way that you find particularly interesting or inspiring, or something you would go like, hey, this is a great way to emulate how to use these stories?
I confess no.
No
I've been more of
worries.
a Forgotten Realms kind of girl.
I- it-
If I'm going to play D&D, or Lost Citadel, which is a zombie apocalypse setting, so
Or
not
Actoroki.
exactly. Yeah, Actoroki, true, so true. Lots of visiting Chaldea.
Hey, so I have a question for you. Is there well, first of all, I wanted to let everybody know that you're doing these events at Gen Con. These events are now, what's the title of these events?
It's Dave Arneson's Blackmoor,
Dave
Age
Arneson's
of the Wolf.
Age of the Wolf.
Yeah,
And
we are the only people doing anything Blackmoor or Dave Arneson related at Gen Con. Out of 20,000 events, we're it.
and and I really appreciate that you are doing it. There's a lot of natural sort of momentum around Gary Gygax and his works. I think the family's benefited a lot from Luke being such an excellent promoter of his father's works,
And a good DM.
and yeah, and he's a great DM. But we haven't really had much from the Arneson camp. People to come forward and run events and promote his legacy. And so I'm really glad that you're doing this, because it does feel very lopsided.
Yeah.
Now, if I understand right, you and Colin are making a book that
Yes.
everybody who plays in these events gets one of these books.
Yes, we're printing 100 copies. So we're talking massively limited edition here. And each player, each ticketed player gets it's a copy of the hardcover book and a miniature courtesy of Paizo.
Whoa.
So you get, freebies. I mean, how can you not love that?
Hardcover. Wow.
Paizo has been a great supporter. Same thing with Renegade, and of course Gen Con. I mean, being very great support.
That's
so
one of my sorry.
No, that's okay. So these books are going to be and these games are going to be in I think one of the studio suites in the stadium.
That's what we've been told at the Lucas Oil Stadium. So get away and above the madding crowd and look down upon.
Well, those suites are really nice.
The crowds.
I think you'll be happy with them.
Oh, I can't wait. And they have catering available. So we're looking into that too. So I might have some tasty treats. Who knows?
Okay, JV, I cut you off.
Sorry, I cut you off. I was gonna say that is one of my favorite things that I took away from Gen Con last year, was like some of the really unique RPGs that I got to play while I was there. Now, Denise, I just gotta say, I love what you're wearing. This is so fun. Are you gonna be wearing this at Gen Con as well?
Oh yeah, I'm totally hijabied up.
Excellent.
Although I'm a little bit progressive, I tend to have short sleeves, so you'll see some tattoos. But
I got you.
So, but yeah, I'm the white hijabi that you'll see walking around Gen Con, and you can usually actually find me either at the Lucas Oil Stadium or in the quiet room.
Fantastic. Thank you.
You can't talk to her there.
No, it's very hush hush.
Now, you mentioned Paizo being a partner, and we've been doing a lot of talking about particularly using this setting for D&D. I think this would be perfect for Pathfinder. I think I might want to try that.
Right. Well, the 8 o'clock in the morning sessions are all Pathfinder 2nd edition.
All right.
And then the afternoon and evenings are Dungeons and Dragons. And we could probably we did actually create a 7th character. Officially, we've ticketed for 6, but if you show up at 8 o'clock in the morning at our suite, we could probably hook you up, Noir.
Don't say that. I've just been telling a very few
I'll be right back.
I mean, it's all sold out.
You just told the whole internet, Denise.
It's
You're gonna
the
have
internet.
30
It's
people
not like
showing
it's
up for every
forever.
game.
No, you have to be specifically Noir. So the only person that can ever play the 7th role is going to be Noir.
This
Yeah,
is why,
yeah.
this is why you said only ticketed players get a copy.
Exactly. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what you did
Well,
there.
friends and
Oh.
family, sorry, you're out of luck.
Somebody who got a ticket's about to get jumped. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I
He's from
guess is there-
Chicago.
So is there anything that you really want to go ahead and all this amazing? You get a free book, you get a free mini, and you get to revamp or go into this lore of after 200 years fallout of Blackmoor. Is there anything you want to go ahead and say that you're really, really excited about this, of course, other than just being sleepless nights of constantly going into another game until midnight?
Oh yeah, every 4 hours we start a new session. So it's going to be a marathon, but we're really looking forward to it. We're also doing a seminar at the JW Marriott, room 203, on Thursday evening at 8 p.m. And we're going to have some of the artists who worked on it, like our friend Tanel Lovett, who
Yes.
everybody knows and loves. She's been fabulous to work with, and hopefully Claudio will pose us. We'll get away from his booth in the artists hall, and we'll have C.A. Suleiman, who is the product lead, and I'll be there as art director, and we'll be talking all things Dave and about Blackmoor and the process that we went to make it real.
So good. So good.
But lots to look forward to. I mean, yay, Gen Con.
I think it's so funny. So I have to confess. So Denise and I talked about this last fall as this project was, going off the ground, and I recognize that you're making a serious investment and risk, right? To have a bunch of these books, to print 100 of them, and would you get 100 players? I said, well, come on to to TableTakes after Event Reg goes live, and we can talk about it and help make sure you get people sign up for this game. Turned out you're sold out
in 3 hours.
3 hours.
It was a wonder to behold, and really gratifying to know that there are people out there who still remember Dave Arneson and Blackmoor and want to try it on.
Yeah, that's so
big
great.
risk for a fledgling studio Inkbat.
Ooh,
look for us in the listings.
That's so good.
That's just a fun name. It's just fun to say,
right? It's Inkbat.
So hey, before we let you go, you have I happen to know that this is not your first foray into tabletop gaming. Why don't you tell the other hosts and our listeners a little bit about your background in games?
Oh, well, professionally, I helped create the one product that beat Wizards of the Coast in the ENnie Awards, which was called Portable Hole Full of Beer. And so that was a great accomplishment of mine. And I ran the ENnie Awards, the Gen Con EN World RPG Awards, for a decade. Personally, I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons since my dad got me the box set in 1982. And I confess I only play the odd numbers editions of Dungeons and Dragons. So it's sort of like Star Trek a little bit, I guess. And yeah, so
I used to say that, even just weeks ago, I would say things like that, but now I don't say that anymore because I'm doing this series of all the editions of D&D.
I've been watching, and it's so exciting.
I'm having to be nice. And in fact, I have to admit, watching Zeb Cook talk about second edition AD&D and why some of the players that he had at the table, like Alex Kammer, talk about why they liked it so much, I have to admit, maybe
you have to try it on. well, Gen Con, I'm sure we can find a game somewhere.
Yeah, you'll be able to find a game. for sure at Gen Con. Now, whether it's a game you can get into, another
Yes.
question.
Exactly.
One of the games you know.
All right.
All right.
Oh.
God King Marcus is telling us it's time for us to wrap up. Thank you so much, Denise, for coming.
Always a
It's
pleasure.
a pleasure to see you. It's always a pleasure to see
Great
you.
meeting you.
Nice meeting you too. I hope to see you 8 o'clock in the morning someday at Gen Con.
And I promise I won't even be fighting anybody.
Nice. Thanks, Peter, and everybody. Have a great night and a good weekend ahead.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. And that is it for our 2 interviews that we had today and Table Takes itself. I will go ahead and pass the baton off to Peter to wrap it up. Peter, what is in for us this week?
Oh my gosh, yes, indeed. This does conclude another amazing episode of Table Takes, but don't go far because in just a couple hours, we have Sarah's Table, where Sarah Moore will continue her campaign of Vanishing Lands, which is a new RPG created by her husband, Jeff Moore. Oh, that's going to be at 5 p.m. Pacific time today. Now, tomorrow, I mentioned this before, and now I get to mention it again. We are having, I mean, like the 4th time I mentioned it, I think, on just on today's stream, which is our series celebrating 50 years of Dungeons and Dragons. Each Saturday, we focus on a particular edition of Dungeons and Dragons. And tomorrow, we're focusing on 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons. We will have Jonathan Tweet, Monty Cook, Sean K. Reynolds, Lexi the First, and me, because that's the one edition that I got to work on. And Stefan Picorni is going to join us to hang out with us, with you in chat, and we're going to talk about 3rd edition, and we're going to play 3rd edition. That's going to be tomorrow, Saturday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Then on Monday, me back again playing Peter versus Machine as Byzantium at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Later on Monday, role-playing and cosplay with Dress to Quest at 6 p.m. Pacific. On Tuesday, Vampire the Masquerade will be back with Indie by Night, 7 p.m. Pacific. I just love that that's set in Indianapolis. I mean, and it's yeah, anyway. Every time it just gives me a little smile whenever I see that show on the calendar. Wednesdays, we have miniatures painting with Rick Ankeny, Path of the Brush at 4 p.m. Pacific, then Actor Roki at 6 p.m. Pacific. Thursday at 10 a.m., Blood on the Clock Tower. And then at 5 p.m., join us for some Shadowrun with Roll with Rem Alternus. And then Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific time, we're back here for Table Takes. Woohoo! And then that next day, Saturday, it's going to be another D&D celebrating. Anyway, sorry. Okay, I'm not supposed to give the next 2 weeks of schedules. Okay. Thank you to all the Gen Con crew, Steve Conard, Sarah Moore, Tanel Lovett, and Danny Kennedy. And thanks to my delightful co-hosts, Jay Vion, Bonsai Baby, and the Noir Enigma. Thanks to our guests, Jonathan Tweet and Denise Robinson. Thanks most of all, though, to you for watching and hanging out with us in chat. Remember, follow Gen Con TV for more of the best 4 days in gaming all year long on twitch.tv/GenCon TV. And by follow, I mean please click the follow button. Thank you. Goodbye.